Marvel must really be running low on money. Honestly, they got to be like scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point because they're realizing it ain't making sense all the crap they was doing. Because after spending much of 2022 absolutely destroying the Punisher and acting like, well, if you don't like it, that's your damn business. We'll do whatever we want. No, they have literally walked it back, backtrack, run back, rinse, repeat, say, let me throw it and go back to our term because they realize it was damn stupid. Let's dive into this article here from Cosmic Book News. Thank you, Jon Bernthal. Marvel Comics brings back the Punisher. Gee, I wonder why. We have Jon Bernthal to thank for Marvel Comics bringing back Frank Castle as the Punisher. Yeah, probably. To catch you up to speed, the woke weirdos at Marvel Comics, and there are so many of them, did away with the Punisher back in 2022. One of the worst things I ever saw. They literally took Frank Castle's life and just ran it across a cheese grater and then acted like, well, you could eat that. They changed the logo and replaced the character as they've done with tons of other characters that also all failed, which includes Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, Nino Nova, Ironheart, Captain America, Falcon, aka Falcon Cap. The list goes on. All of these failed. Marvel Comics even went so far as to completely destroy Frank Castle by removing the very reason he's the Punisher. Basically, what happened is that they brought his dead wife back, who took his money, told him he's an asshole, and left. That was what it boiled down to, because somehow they thought that made sense. The reason they got rid of Frank Castle is that they hate what the Punisher represents. Many people in the police and military in the real world are inspired by the Punisher and even use his logo. Well, the wokies hate that. They hate the police, they hate the military, of course, they hate Trump. So they did away with the Punisher. They made Frank Castle give up his war on crime and replaced him with a different character. Now, here's the thing about it. The Punisher's logo is cool. That skull emblem is just bloody cool. There's no other way to put it. It looks really cool and badass. That's what you can say with absolute certainty about the Punisher logo. Yes, people in the military and police do usually talk about how they hate the military, hate the police. Well, these are the same people defending them, but they hate them. If you have a problem, like I say, go and put on a uniform, pick up a weapon, and go and man a post, but they will never do that. They will never, but they love to sit down and say how much they hate this one because those people are out there defending them. That is what. And because some people in the military and the police were using the logo and had the logo on, that was a problem to them. So they got rid of it and then they replaced Frank Castle with some other weirdo. Well, the most recent series was cancelled after 4 issues. How that worked out? Because it was stupid. I don't even remember the guy's name. I'm just saying, if you wanted to, you could have done a completely different story, making that person their own unique character. You could have done that. But no, you tried it with him and it failed horribly. Like they say, cancel after 4 issues because you embarrassed yourselves. So back to Jon Bernthal. We don't know if he is actually to thank, but Marvel Comics has announced a new series where Frank Castle will be back as the Punisher with the original Skull logo because they're losing too much damn money. But do not doubt for a second, people, that Marvel is going to backtrack on these things. Like I said, until that company gets rid of all the woke sycophants infesting it, it's never going to get great again until they could do that. It's a new 5-issue limited series titled Punisher Red Band, written by Benjamin Percy with art by Julius Otter, which gets released in September. Okay. So here's the synopsis. Reread and reload. True believers. Frank Castle is back with no memories, a full clip, and a thirst for wrathful vengeance. His violent search for answers could only be chronicled in a red band series. Bullets will fly, blood will flow, and the citizens and criminals of New York City alike will fear the name the Punisher. Why you had to get rid of him in the first place? Because you listened to idiots and now you're trying to do something. Yeah, because like I said, they have to walk it back. They're losing too much damn money. The writer added in the press release, Frank Castle, that dark-hearted vengeance machine, that monster who fights monsters, is one of my all-time favorite characters. Sure he is. And Punisher is a series I've been gunning to write for a long, long time. Sure it is. Yeah, sure. Not only is Frank back in black, but this is a red band book. You know what that means. I'm going to lean in fully and push the very limits of my favorite genre. Hairy psychopaths, this is going to be as gritty and bloody as it gets. Street level mayhem awaits you, and Julius Otter, who I collaborated with previously on Helverine, is bringing all the blood and fire and rage to the page with his beautiful, terrifying art. When they decided to ruin Punisher, they basically took away his skull, gave him kind of demon face thing, put him in charge of the hand, gave him swords, have him running around using some kind of, not gonna use the hand of the beast, or some nonsense like that, and all of that and stuff with it. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Really, really good. They changed Frank Castle's entire story and then acted like we were supposed to love it for some reason. I don't know what they thought was going to happen, but it was clear it was always going to fail. That was a given. Of course, Jon Bernthal has returned as the Punisher in the MCU's Daredevil Born Again series on Disney+. Bernthal is also developing a spin-off Punisher special for the streamer. Now Marvel Comics brings back Frank Castle as the Punisher. Coincidence? Nope, well, no, because I also said in a video that that is what they're going to do. Once you see Punisher comes back, they're going to bring him back as Punisher in the books. That is what they're going to do. I said they were going to do that because that was their only play. They needed to do that. Marvel Comics sellout Tom Brevoort admitted the comics only serve as creative fodder for eventual film and animation development. You know, that idiotic thing to say. That probably explains why 50% of comic shops have failed and the MCU has completely tanked. Well, yeah, because when you instead of writing comics for comics, you're writing them as to be scripts to be used for movies and TV series. Of course, it's going to happen. When you're writing comics, your only limit is your imagination. I always remember this time when some of the writers for Batman used to sit down and say that, you know, they would sit down and brainstorm about how they could make the Batmobile cool. That was it. What cool thing could they do with the Batmobile? How could they design it to look cool? That's what they talked about. You don't get that anymore because now it's just let's just make it as okay as possible so we could get it into production and make it in some kind of movie or TV series. That's it. It's ridiculous, and this is what keeps tanking your entire setup of everything. The bozos at Marvel Studios are trying to come up with their own ideas and are telling the comics people to follow suit. Instead of being inspired by the comics, which is what made the MCU so good when it first started. I said this again. Yeah? If you like the MCU early days, you have the Ultimate Universe to thank for that. The first Ultimate Universe. What made the MCU so good is that there was a plan. There was a plan to follow what was going on, and that was what happened. After Endgame, there was no plan. They were just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it would stick. That was it. You got the whole nonsense with them making Ms. Marvel into a mutant, and then they decided in the Disney Plus series that nobody watched because it had some really low ratings for it. You understand me? Then they did the very same thing in the comics, and it moved no needles. They killed her off and nobody cared. They brought her back like 2 weeks later. Everybody was like, wait, she was dead? I didn't really care, and that was it. That's what happened with it. They're putting their own ideas in the comics first to test how it looks. Again, how's that working out? By comparison, Jon Favreau, Joss Whedon, James Gunn, and the Russos are all fans of the comics. They were inspired by their love of comics and developed the MCU. Post-Endgame, Marvel producers told their directors not to read comics, how it work out. Yeah, because I even did a video where we were actually telling people, don't read it. Even the woman who did She-Hulk admitted she had never read She-Hulk. She knew nothing about legal drama, anything like that, but they just gave her the ability to do this because why show the diversity higher? That was it. And you had Marvel producers out there say that, they tell the directors stuff, don't read the books, make it your own. All they wanted was just just the name and put whatever the hell else they wanted in there. That was it. That was their whole thing. Just the name and put whatever the hell else they wanted in there. They didn't care about anything else at all. That was it. That was all they were doing. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Disney and Kevin Feige are the worst things that have happened to the comics. They'd be best leaving Marvel Comics completely alone. MCU fans don't buy comics. Disney and Feige have ruined the business. Yeah, well, and then they go stop. Nope. So thank you, Jon Bernthal, for bringing back the Punisher. We need more creatives like Bernthal. Keep fighting the good fight. Now he's saying that he loves the character of Punisher, and he wants the character done correctly and done right, and that's what this is the character he really does care about. My thing about it is, however, I am not so quick to just believe that we're going to be getting this great Punisher series from Marvel. They have lied before, they will lie again. Yes, they're going to bring back the Punisher because they need to get some money coming in there, but I will need to see what this miniseries is, how it works out, and most importantly, what happens after. In essence, the Punisher is back now because Marvel had no other choice but to bring him back because Jon Bernthal is going to be playing Punisher, and as stated, they're trying to line up the MCU must be what the comics try to follow now. That and the fact that they realize they can't make a damn cent off of the character unless it's actually Frank Castle, because that's what people want. So we will wait and see how this turns out. I am highly skeptical, but at least we're getting some level of, something on the horizon. It looks like the Punisher is back because Marvel knew that they screwed up and had no choice in regards to that. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like, give it a hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.